In this video, I'll walk you through how to use VS Code with the Docker container. So let's first check if I'm attached to any folders, and I'm not. And then we can also see from the information down here that I'm not connected to the Docker container. So on Windows, it's important to keep in mind that we want to have our files available on the WSL2 file system. So that's in Ubuntu as part of WSL2. And so it can sometimes be a little challenging when you start out to wrap your head around exactly where that is and where these files are. So the first thing we're going to do is show you a little tip, and that is going to be something in a terminal that we can do. Now notice that I have the WSL terminal as my default. If you want to have that, or if you want to change that, you can go into select default profile and choose WSL or Ubuntu if WSL is not available for some reason. So first step here is I'm going to change into my home directory, and you can see where I am, and you can see what user I am. So this is my regular home directory inside of WSL2, inside of Ubuntu. Alright, so where exactly is this folder if I were to open up File Explorer? How would I find it? So a quick shortcut for that is to type explorer.exe with a dot. So explorer.exe literally points to the executable for your File Explorer, and it'll open that up. And then the dot here just says open it up in the current working directory, which is the home directory you have on WSL2. If I press enter, it'll open up a File Explorer. And this is my home directory on WSL2. You can see that here, WSL, Ubuntu, home, vnice. Now I want this directory, this home directory, to be easily accessible from any File Explorer. And so if I just clicked, if you missed that, I just clicked on home here. And then now I'm going to right click on my home directory and say pin to quick access. I don't like it quite at the bottom, so I'm just going to drag it up. I'll just drag things around a bit so that my home directory on WSL2 is the home directory. Now there's not any folders here that I want to use yet. This is a very clean initial setup that I'm using for the demo. And so I'll create the directories that I want in a second, but I'll do it inside of VS Code. You can do it here too, but I'll just show you how to do it in VS Code. Right, so this is just going to be convenient for me to navigate directly to WSL2 in that file system. So I can close my terminal, and the easiest way to move around on WSL2 is to use the command palette. And so let's just first type RSM:, and you can see some of the commands that are available. The first one that I'm going to use is change workspace. And you can see that there's also a keyboard shortcut for this. There's basically two important keyboard shortcuts, well, three I guess. One is Shift-Control-P, which is the command palette, Control-Shift-Z, which changes workspace, and Control-Shift-A, which toggles between attaching and detaching the Docker container. So let's just change our workspace to start. And so that's going to open up. In this case, we're going to choose current window. And you'll see it automatically tries to go to WSL2, which is nice. But suppose that I happen to be somewhere else, let's say in my C drive, and I try to select that, it'll automatically reopen inside of WSL2, and it won't allow me to select a folder outside of WSL2. Now this is set up by design on Windows. When you're using the RSM VS Code extension, it will try to make it as easy as possible for you to stay inside of WSL2 when you're using VS Code. Alright, now again, I don't have any folders that I want to use here, so I'll just create a new one to start, and let's just call that Git. And I'll select that folder for us to start with. Okay, so now I'm connected to the Git folder. I can see that in the Explorer window. Okay, this is just an error that is not important at all. For us, it's just telling us that Git is not available on on Windows, and we're not going to use regular Windows. We're going to connect this to the Docker container anyway. All right, so now I'm attached to the Git folder. I actually want to add a particular folder that is on my desktop. So let me just show some part of my next desktop. Here is the RSM-ICT folder that we've used previously. Suppose I want that available inside of WSL2. Since I'm already connected to a folder on WSL2, I can literally just drag this in here and say copy this folder over so that I still have it on my desktop as well. And so now here's a folder. Now I could go ahead and work with this, but what I recommend is that you always try to have your VS Code connected to the specific project folder that you're going to be working on. So we're going to use change workspace one more time. So I'll just use the keyboard shortcut now, Shift-Control-Z. Opening current workspace, and then I'm going to select the RSM-ICT folder in this case. Okay, so here are all the files that you've seen before. And so now the next step is going to be to attach this to the Docker container. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. One is RSM. You can see attach, or we can use the keyboard shortcut to attach and detach. And the keyboard shortcut is Shift-Control-A. I'll just use the command palette for now. And you can see that this is connecting my VS Code to the Docker container, the RSM-MSBA Docker container. All right. So just one more thing to check here. Suppose I want to open up a Python file here and run that. Then something that I can do is I can make sure that my Python file is using the correct interpreter. So inside of the dev container, there's a couple of options, and we want to make sure that we're using the default, and so that is going to be opt base UV. So I'm going to select that. That should be selected automatically if you've done the merge commands. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say merge, I can do RSM merge. I'm going to make sure that you've merged both settings and key bindings so that they're all set for you. All right, and so now if I want to execute this Python file, I should be able to click on Run Python File. And here we go. It is executing the Python script correctly. Now, one thing I noticed, because this is a very clean setup, is that I haven't actually even run the setup command inside of the Docker container here yet. So I'm running that now. And let me just check here if everything looks nice. Yes, it does. So now I've got my nice icons inside of my terminal here inside of VS Code once it's connected to the dev container. So if your terminal doesn't look like this, or you're having trouble with running Python, then just go ahead and post on Piazza, and I'll try to help you out as soon as possible.